Welcome to the Ordinary Extraordinary Cemetery, where every death had a life and every life had a story. My name is Jennie Johnson.
And hello, I'm Diane Hartshorn.
And quick reminder this time, uh, the Central City Cemetery Crawl coming up August 23rd, the Catholic Cemetery in Central City. This is in Colorado, so for our Colorado listeners. But if you happen to be visiting this part of Colorado at the end of August and are around, definitely come and see us. I've got ticket links in our show notes, ticket links on the website. You can also go to the Gilpin County Historical website. They have ticket links there. So definitely come and check us out. Learn the stories of some of our earliest gold miners and what they were doing in that part of Colorado at that time.
And do you know who your character is yet?
No, I haven't heard back yet. So I'll
Well, you have a
know.
month.
Yeah, I'll know probably by this weekend. I'm sure
Okay.
I'll have an idea of who I'm supposed to be. But I'm looking forward to it. It's always one of my favorite excuses to wear a historical costume.
Hmm.
So it's just I waiting until I'm told who I am, because over the years that I've done it, like one year technically I was a 2-year-old girl, so I had to go
Yeah.
more like Laura Ingalls Wilder looking. But another year it was 1860s, another time it was 1930s. So I always have to kind of wait and see what they tell me
Oh, for
before
the
I pick my
costume. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, before I pick my outfit. Couple other tidbits before we get into today's story. Uh, First, I want to say thank you to the listeners who have submitted photos for
Thank
our
you.
Wildlife Wednesday so far. We've got some really cool ones that have come in, so I can't wait to share those. If you haven't seen that post so on Wednesdays recently, I've been trying to do Wildlife Wednesdays on our social media. So I will post a picture in our cemeteries with some kind of wildlife. And I've done birds, we've done deer, we've done squirrels, but there's only so many photos that Diane and I have of
Right.
our wildlife. And being both of us being in Colorado, it's going to be very similar wildlife, no matter which cemetery we're in. So if you have photos that you have taken in your local cemeteries, whether it's here in the States, in our other countries for our
Yeah, that
listeners
would be so
around the
cool.
globe, and you have a really cool picture of whatever, it can be insects, birds, animals, whatever kind of wildlife is hanging out in your cemeteries. If you'd like to submit them to us, you can either send them to us through our email, which there is also a link on our website, and it'll all be linked in the show notes, of course. Or you can send it to us in a private message, either through Facebook or Instagram, and we will be more than happy to share your photos. Just make sure when you send them to us, you do give me permission to share them, in case Instagram or Facebook were to come back to me and say, did you have permission to share these photos? Yes, I had permission to share these photos. I promise.
And yeah, and that they are your photos.
Yes. And I also want to give you credit for being the photographer,
Definitely.
not, somebody else. So let us know and tell us the name of the cemetery that it's in. And we will be happy to share. So I'm
So
looking
much
forward
fun.
to sharing some of the really cool ones we got. And I'll do one every week. So, if we get a slew of them all at once, it might be a little bit, but I will get to everybody who sends them.
I
Uh,
think it'd be so much fun because then it's like it's our listeners are joining us in sharing the wildlife of these cemeteries. I think it's a really good idea, Jenny.
Oh yeah. Like I said, I got to a point where as I go through and I have lots and lots of cemetery photos, and we even have some from Evergreen and stuff.
Mhm.
There's only so much that I actually have. I try and get critters when I see them. But sometimes, I mean, there are plenty of times where I'm visiting a cemetery and I see not a lot of critters. So, and other times I see a lot of it. It also depends on the time of year too.
Oh
But
yeah.
like I said, here in Colorado, between what you're seeing and what I'm seeing, it's going to be a lot of the same type of animals and
And
bugs and things like that. So we would love to see them from everywhere else. And yeah, just highlight them. So send them to us. For those of you that have sent yours in already, thank you so much. Keep your eyes posted. Um, like I said, I'll put it all up on our social media. We're recording this on Tuesday night, so tomorrow is Wednesday. So I'll
mhm.
do our first listener submitted photo this week, and I have to decide which one. We got some good ones, and so I'm like, they're so much fun.
Oh, how
There's two.
fun.
Yes.
And thank
Uh,
you.
yeah. So thanks again. Keep them coming. We can't wait to see what you have. I feel like there was one other thing we said we wanted to remind our listeners of, and now it has totally slipped my mind. We were going to talk about
I
the
don't
cemetery
know
crawl,
because
and I wanted to
yeah,
thank those who've submitted photos. I know there was something else. If I remember it while we're going through our story today, I will be sure to tack it on at the end. So keep your ears open. Today, we have a fascinating story that blends genealogy, puzzles, and a little bit of mystery. We are diving into the lives of Samuel Bean and his wives, that's
why?
plural, wives, Henrietta, Susanna, and Anna Bean, and the cryptic monument that makes the final resting place of the first two in Wellesley, Ontario. And just so our listeners know, I have
Oh,
an outline that we are following, Diane and I, but there's some stuff I did not include because I want Diane's
yeah.
reactions after we've told the facts of the story, at least the facts of the story as I could find them and put them together. But there's some things that are debatable and up for discussion that we'll talk about after we've gone through all of this.
It's like like I told Jenny, it's like it was a long day, so I am not responsible for anything that pops up on my face, and I'll really try to control them out. So we'll see.
It will
I'm
be fun.
warning.
And if you happen to be with us on YouTube, if you look behind Diane, there is a photo of the grave we're going to talk about and Samuel Bean himself. Now, I could not find any photos, or at least none that were available publicly, of the three wives, but there is Samuel Bean. And yes, the headstone, you're seeing the same headstone twice in two different stones, and we'll explain about that a little bit later. But as you can see, it's a fascinating looking headstone. I've seen it
Yeah.
come up on social media, both on Instagram and Facebook, a few times, but I don't think it's as well known outside of Canada. So I thought we would learn a little bit more about this story.
Well, I'm just thinking, look at the stone carver. My goodness, the work that went into that headstone.
Right. And this was 1800s, mid 1800s when the original stone was carved. So
Right.
that's all hand
All by
carving.
hand. No, whatever that sandblasting like they do today.
Right.
So that
Yes.
is amazing. So, okay. This monument isn't just any headstone. It features a cryptogram, a puzzle made up of encrypted text that remained unsolved for a staggering 80 years. That's amazing.
Right. Let's backtrack just a bit and start with Samuel G. Bean. He was born March 24th, 1842, in Canada West, which we now know as Ontario, but if you look at historical records, that's what it says. He was the fifth son to Abraham and Susanna Graybill Bean. As a young man, and I wasn't sure when, I couldn't find the time, but as a young man, he lived in Pennsylvania, where he worked as a teacher and also attended the Eclectic Medical College of Pennsylvania. In 1862, he enlisted as a private in the 129th Pennsylvania Regiment, Company C Infantry in the Civil War.
In 1865, he married 23-year-old Henrietta Fury. Hope that wasn't any preclude to Henrietta. Anyway, shortly after their marriage, the couple moved back to Canada, where Samuel set up his medical practice in psychic surgery and midwifery. Sadly, their time together was short. Henrietta died just 7 months later after, in quote, suffering an illness for 11 weeks. What the actual illness was remains a mystery. Some have speculated that she may have been pregnant and died as a result of complications due, due to that. However, at this point, there is no documented proof of her cause of death.
Right. According to Martha Hayden, Dr. Samuel Bean had been well known for being a crucive verbalist, a crossword enthusiast, in other words. It's a fun word. I had to include it. I hope I said it right. I just like the word. He had enjoyed working all sorts of puzzles as well as creating them for others. This love of puzzles led him to create Henrietta's funeral card as a crossword puzzle
Oh my goodness.
that included 19 letters across and 19 down. When solved, it read, "In memoriam, Henrietta Fury Bean, born in Pennsylvania, married in Philadelphia to Samuel Bean, MD, and went with him to Canada, leaving all her friends behind. died in Linwood the 27th of September, 1865, after an illness of 11 weeks, aged 23 years, 2 months, and 17 days. She was a model wife, one of 1,000, much regretted by her sorrowing husband and all who knew her. Lived a godly life for 5 years and died happy in the Lord. Peace be to her ashes, so mote it be.
As so often happened at this time, Dr. Samuel Bean didn't stay single for long. He married 25-year-old Susanna Clegg a year later on July 16, 1866. As happened in his first marriage, tragedy struck when Susanna died during childbirth on April 27, 1867. Samuel was once more a widower, but now he also had a small infant daughter to raise. He named her Susanna after her mother. He chose to bury Susanna next to Henrietta in the Rushes Cemetery in Wellesley, Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, and then designed a headstone that was continued to fascinate the public to this very day. The original stone was of white marble. The top is engraved with a single hand pointing to heaven, above which the words "Gone Home" are carved, and Bean, Bean, the family surname, is carved just below. Under Bean are the names of each woman, and at the very bottom of the stone is the phrase, "Reader, meet us in heaven." But it is the inscription beneath their names that is so eye-catching. It is a cryptogram that is 15 letters across and 15 letters down.
And if you're looking, again, you can see it behind Dianne on YouTube. So if you're following along, otherwise I will have this on social media for those who are just listening along, but you can see the rows of letters going across and down in between the top and the bottom of the stone. So it really is a true cryptogram that somebody, whoever his stone carver was, managed to carve in to that whole stone. As far as we are aware, he left nothing behind, revealing the message within, so it remained unsolved for 80 years. For decades, visitors to the cemetery would create rubbings of the stone or write it all out on slips of paper in order to take it home and work to solve the puzzle. But it wasn't until 1936 that one woman was finally able to work out the complicated strategy and finally learn what Samuel Bean wanted others to know about Henrietta and Susanna. Florence Flossie DeWar, a resident of Wellesley for most of her life, had copied the symbols onto a cardboard grid and spent many weeks working out the solution. The key is to start at the 7th symbol down and the 7th grid space across, then move in a counterclockwise and sometimes a zigzag direction.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Wow.
I am no good at cryptograms, so for those people who like these types of puzzles, good luck.
Good for Flossie. Flossie revealed that the inscription reads, "In memoriam, Henrietta, first wife of S. Bean, M.D., who died 27th September 1865, aged 23 years, 2 months, and 17 days, and Susanna, his second wife, who died 27th of April, 1867, age 26 years, 10 months, and 15 days. 2 better wives one man never had. They were gifts from God, but are now in heaven. May God help me, S.B., to meet them there."
In 1867, Samuel left Canada, taking his little daughter with him, and settled down in Rome, New York. While in New York, he became Reverend Samuel Bean with the Methodist Conference and met his third wife, Anna Maria Wankmiller. They tied the knot in 1871 and went on to have 4 more children together: Samuel, Caroline, Maria, and Jesse A. Bean. In 1885, the family moved to Larchwood, Iowa, where they were very active with the Methodist Church until about 1893, at which time they relocated to Bronson, Florida, where Samuel began farming the fruit trees located on the family's property. On January 28, 1904, on a return trip from Cuba, the boat he was sailing on capsized and he was lost at sea. It was reported that all efforts to recover his body were made, but to no avail. Anna Bean, wife number 3, died a few months after her husband on June 14th, 1904. The two are buried at Coulter Cemetery in Bronson, Florida. Their grave is marked by a small marble obelisk with no mysterious puzzles engraved upon it.
Yeah,
Mostly because Anna probably had to pick that one out.
Well, that and he wasn't there to create the puzzle.
Right.
So in 1982, spearheaded by Flossie DeWar, the woman who solved the mystery, a new marker was made of granite which replicated the original marble marker. An article on Ancestry Bird Dog states, the epitaph on the headstone drew many curious visitors over the years. Unfortunately, countless rubbings of the inscription, along with weather and the softer marble material, caused the inscription to become almost entirely illegible.
So the Wellesley Township and Wellesley Historical Society decided to have a replica made. Unveiled in a ceremony on October 17th, 1982, the new monument is made of a more durable gray granite. The letters are blackened, so anyone wishing to read and solve the puzzle can do so with greater ease without causing additional harm to the original monument.
And that's why some cemeteries do not allow rubbing of their headstones.
Right. Especially when you think about that softer, a lot of the marble, because it sugars so easily and it's so soft. And the more pressure we put on it from rubbings and all of that, it just makes it deteriorate over time. So both monuments are there at the cemetery and you can see them side by side. But yes, if you are interested, I know we revealed what the puzzle says, but if you really like doing puzzles, definitely try and solve it. Now, the one thing I was reading as I was reading various articles about this inscription is there are some like misspellings and some weird things with some of it. And that could be either because whoever was carving the stone like misinterpreted what Samuel gave him to carve into it, or Samuel got it incorrect himself when he wrote his little puzzle out. I don't know which. But here's the thing with Mr. Samuel.
Okay, I'm ready.
So it's researching all of them, all 4 of them. So him and his 3 wives was a little tricky. And I still think there's other parts to the story that may be out there that people just haven't located yet. But I think Samuel might have been a bit of a con man.
Oh.
Yes. So he was very handsome. If you look at if you're following us on YouTube, there's a photo of him. I have him between the 2 grave markers.
He is.
I'm guessing he's about 30 years old, maybe 35, between 30 and 40 in this photo. He could be a little younger. It's a little hard to tell, but he's very handsome. He's got, deep set eyes, lots of thick hair, nice beard going on, the whole definitely mid 1800s look. And I'm kind of guessing he might have been a smooth talker. I mean, just by what he wrote about his wives, how they were the best wives, the number 1 wives, except that he was not married to either one of those first 2 wives for very long before he lost them both.
Oh, I thought you said they weren't married. I mean, go ahead. Was that my first surprise?
No, they were all legitimate. The marriages were all legitimate.
Okay.
But his medical degree, so that college that he went to, now I've got to scroll back up in our outline here and find the name of the school.
Oh, it was a psychic. Was it psychic? And I thought it was weird that he was in midwifery.
Right, because there are, and even today, there are male doctors that do midwifery, but not as often. It was the Eclectic Medical College of Pennsylvania, which was what little I learned about that school was it was a diploma mill, essentially. Like you could pretty much pay to get a diploma in a lot of things there without necessarily completing what we would consider today in today's terms accredited coursework. So you could become whatever you wanted. So there's a very, very good chance that Samuel Bean did not actually do a full required medical course as it was in the 1860s. And I'm not a doctor, didn't go to medical school. I don't know exactly what their courses entailed, but we do know there were schools for medical doctors at the time where they had to do a fairly rigorous course of study, just like today's doctors do. But where he went to school, there's a very good chance he probably didn't study all of that much.
Um,
And there's definitely discussions online concerning the death of these first two wives because he was supposedly practicing medicine at the time.
right.
So how and midwifery, which is obviously delivering babies. So we know the second wife for sure died as a result of childbirth. There's speculations about the first wife dying as possibly a result of pregnancy or childbirth. You would think that if he had that specialty, they probably wouldn't have died. They might have been able, he might have at least been able to save one of the two of them.
True. Wow.
And then
Oh, okay.
later in his life, of course, he becomes the Reverend Samuel Bean. But I guess that was more of a self proclaimed title. He didn't go to any official program or school, like, and I don't know what the Methodists call it, but he to become an actual minister. He just said he studied his Bible and he decided he was the Reverend. And then they went to, they were in New York for a while and then they went to Iowa and he was very involved there. And I wonder if the reason they left Iowa is maybe he got caught.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering if that's why they were moving in different places.
Yes.
He was a
So then
self-made
he went
man.
to Florida and he was farming fruit trees. And something else I read said he was practicing medicine again in Florida. I couldn't verify that one way or the other. Like there is definitely proof that he was practicing at other times because you can find his advertisement for his practice and stuff. But I couldn't verify the Florida thing. But at least one thing I read said he might have been doing that along with farming his fruit trees.
Huh.
So I feel
I,
like Samuel
I,
Bean was definitely a little bit of a con artist.
well, and I now looking at him, at first he was the handsome husband. He lost two wives. Now you look at him and go, what else did you do that we don't know about?
Right. And there's a lot of, like I said, when I was reading, and I didn't get to do is I'm hoping this can be an episode that we revisit later
Yeah,
and I can do a little more in-depth research. And the reason I didn't do as much now is because I'm still doing some research for the upcoming cemetery crawl and everything. But I have
oh, this is good.
occasionally seen this particular headstone come up over and over again in different social media posts. And I was like, this is a really cool stone. I've never seen anything like it. And from what little research I did do, there's nothing else like it anywhere in the world that's come up. Like it's the only cryptogram headstone that people seem to know about. Now, if there's another cryptogram and you know of it, let us know.
Well,
Um,
I think the cool thing is that the cemetery and the historical society um, took the time and effort, and I'm assuming possibly money, to
oh
have
yeah.
that stone recreated instead of it just sort of disappearing to time because, some people just don't see the value in keeping headstones like that. So that those groups need to be commended as well for,
And you think
doing the
about that,
right
that
thing and
was
saving.
back in 1982. So some of our restoration practices that we do now weren't
Yeah,
things that we were doing then. And I love the fact that they're like, you know what, we need just a better quality stone
right.
to have hanging out in the cemetery as opposed to the marble that is obviously not holding up well. Um, and it's interesting because this is a small cemetery. It is not a big cemetery. It was founded in 1840 something, if I remember correctly. The community Wellesley itself, it's really just a village. It still is just a village,
Mhm.
and there's several other smaller villages nearby that kind of. I went through the Wellesley Historical Society's website, and they talked about there's two sections of these areas. There's like 9 little villages on the east side and 4 or 5 on the west side that all kind of form this whole grouping of villages right in this section of Ontario. And so it's a little community. There's the website or the cemetery itself doesn't even have its own website. Like what I was learning was through the historical society, through what's posted on Find a Grave, that kind of stuff. So the only thing that really makes this cemetery stand out to anybody is this particular headstone that a lot of people have gone to visit.
And that's really cool because, it just seems like the smaller the community, the more active any of their historical groups are, which
Mm-hmm.
I think that's wonderful that the people saw the importance of this and did something about it to keep, well, they didn't keep the headstone because it was basically rubbed to death, but to recreate it so that mystery would be there for forever. Well, forever.
Well, yes, for a very long time at this
Very
point.
long time.
But I think it's really, and there, it has attracted, like I said, I think the story is fairly well known throughout Canada. A lot
Uh-huh.
of the, I was coming across a lot of blog posts that featured it, that kind of thing. I just didn't, and again, I've seen it occasionally pop up on social media, but I just don't think we knew it here in America or across the pond in the other countries. And I thought this was really cool. But yes, trying to learn more about Samuel Bean and his lifestyle was very tricky because I do think he was one of those men who, and of course, we know, and we've talked about it before, in the 1860s, 70s, 80s, all the way through, there were a lot of people who changed professions often, either
Oh
because they
yeah.
were con artists or just because it was easier to do at that time. It was easier to pop around from profession to profession. Like college was not as expensive. You could
Right.
take multiple courses and become something. I mean, how many times have we talked about somebody who became a lawyer and then a doctor and then
Hmm.
whatever? And maybe that was the case. And I feel like maybe in his early life he had good intentions and then they just
And he possibly could.
he possibly could have. The other interesting thing about his term as a Civil War soldier, he wasn't in very long. Like he enlisted and was only there for a short time before he mustered out. So he didn't see any action or anything like that. Which then makes me wonder why he was enlisting. Like, I mean, he technically wasn't an American citizen at the time. He was Canadian. Um,
Hmm.
and this was before he was married. Now, of course, his wife, his first wife, was American. She was born in Philadelphia and grew up in Pennsylvania. So, but that was, well, I don't know, maybe they knew each other in 1862, but they didn't get married till 1865. So I don't know how long
Yeah.
they courted. Like that information was not available. And there wasn't a whole lot on well, the first two wives, I found very little
Well, they were so young
records
too.
for. Yeah. And so even trying to locate them on maybe like earlier census records to find out more about their parents and stuff, I was not
Right. Hmm.
having a lot of luck with. But I got just the feeling that he he was a definitely a smooth talker, swept the ladies off their feet. I mean, obviously he got them to like him enough to marry him because he did it 3 times.
Yeah.
And the
It
other
was
fun thing was
puzzle.
I didn't include it in here because I didn't know if it would make enough sense when we're, especially for people who are only listening, but I'll put some links to some of the blog posts that I saw. All of his kids had very interesting middle names that had sort of a puzzle attached to each of the middle names too,
Oh my gosh.
right?
I really hope his kids enjoyed that.
I don't know. But
Oh
his
wow.
playing with puzzles, numbers, words was like a thing for him. And he did it all the time, apparently.
It's almost like did he do that with his life too? It's like these little pieces that he would do to see if people could solve who he really was. And he was going through all these different things in there. It's like, hmm, maybe I'll be a doctor.
What is
No,
that?
I'm gonna
Catch
be a
me if you
reverend.
can.
Yes,
That's
yes.
almost what this reminds me of. Because I mean, he wasn't, as far as I know, he was never in trouble with the law or anything like that. So he wasn't
Oh, that's
doing
interesting
that, but he was doing just enough, I think,
to
and changing
say.
himself
Huh,
every so often. And
well,
that third wife, Anna, I mean, they were married for several years because when did I say they got married? 1867,
I think so.
and he died in 1904. So they were married for quite a while.
Mhm.
So obviously she either really believed everything he told her, which I'm not sure how much you do, or maybe by then he had admitted his ways, but I don't know.
Or she was a conspirator with his
That
puzzle
could be, or
making.
maybe she just thought the life was exciting,
Yep,
go
could be.
along, do whatever. I I thought it was an interesting story and a fun headstone. So it was definitely worth featuring this week.
It was. It was a really cool story.
So I still don't remember what the third thing was that we were going to talk about with our listeners today. So hopefully by the time we record next week, I'll remember. Next week, we have a very special guest coming back. She's been on a few times, but we will be having Sharon Pica joining us. I know, I'm so excited. She has a new book out, so we're going to talk about her new book and have some fun with that. So yeah,
Very cool.
make sure you all join us next week for that.
Thank you for joining us today. To learn more about today's episode, visit our website, theordinaryextraordinarycemetery.com, where you'll find additional links in our show notes. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe to our channel. And if you enjoyed this or any of our episodes, consider leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Your support helps others find our show and discover all of our ordinary, extraordinary stories.
You can also follow us on social media for cemetery facts, photos, quotes, and more. We are on Facebook and Instagram at Ordinary Extraordinary Cemetery. If you'd like to help support us financially, you can donate a cup of coffee by clicking on the coffee cup icon on our website or YouTube, or purchase some of our fabulous Ordinary Extraordinary Cemetery merchandise through our store link.
Until we meet again.